Welcome back to our NTA series. In our last video, we looked at the net tangible asset requirement for Australian financial services licensees and some of the recent guidance from ASIC. In today's video, we're going to look at custody providers and how the NTA requirement applies to these entities. We know that the NTA requirement will be one of the following options. Option A, either the greater of $150,000 or 10% of average revenue, or option B, either the greater of $10 million or 10% of average revenue. But what happens to the NTA requirement if an AFS licensee is authorised to provide custody services but outsources custody to a large custodial services provider that meets option B of the NTA requirement? If this is the case, the licensee is likely to be an incidental provider. An incidental provider is one that does not provide any custodial or depository services other than services which are a need of the client to whom custodial services are provided because of or in order to obtain another financial service provided by the licensee and do not form part of an IDPS. An example of an incidental provider is a licensee who provides custodial services in relation to a managed investment scheme that the licensee operates. In these circumstances, where the licensee is an incidental provider and the licensee does not hold physical custody of the assets of the fund because it outsources this to another provider, the NTA requirement is nil. There are a few further action items for incidental providers. Number 1, at all times, the incidental provider must ensure that the assets are held by a separate entity that meets option B, being NTA of the greater of $10 million or 10% of average revenue. To do this, the incidental provider must request written assurance from that separate entity that they meet the NTA requirement. But what if the fund hasn't been established, or it has been established but there are no assets yet? In this case, ASIC's guidance states that the incidental provider must have at least entered into an agreement with the separate entity. Incidental providers should also be aware that if they provide other financial services which trigger an NTA requirement, they must meet that NTA requirement. What next? If the NTA requirement applies to you, or you think it might, we encourage you to review your NTA calculations. For licensees which operate registered schemes, IDPSs, CCIVs and provide custodial services and have not yet considered the NTA requirements because the license is dormant or for some other reason, it's time to do so. ASIC will not look favourably on licensees to which the NTA requirement applies but have failed to meet this financial obligation. If you have any questions about today's video, head on over to our website where you can talk to a member of our team via our live chat service. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the next video.